I think what you're talking about here is also might be a symptom of the recent political violence we've seen across the board with attempts at people's lives, things like that, very touchy subjects. But it seems that there is a lack of understanding that everybody's trying to get to the same conclusion and they're just trying different matters to do it. And that's where a bit of the apathy you were talking about earlier comes from. Where do you think across the board in politics this type of apathy for the other side came from, I guess? Do you think it's a symptom of having this outsider kind of, or outsiders come into politics or wanting somebody you can have a drink with, things like that? What would you say is the symptom of that?
I would argue the symptom of it has been kind of years in the making, largely from social media and a 24-hour news cycle that has pushed people to the extremes. To be successful in those realms, you kind of have to be extreme, and extremism breeds extremism, and then that flows down into candidate selection. Yeah. Each party is choosing their candidates. Well, in primaries, generally you kind of get more of the far end of those parties voting in primaries. So to be electable to your party, you kind of have to trend more towards that extreme. And I think it's been kind of a slow going. I don't think it happened in the last 2 years or anything. It's been a slow process. And you add in social media on top of it, and you've got your algorithm built in, and all of a sudden, everything you're watching agrees with you. Yeah. And so you think the entire world believes that way. And we're at a point now, it's really, it's crazy to watch, but you watch one event happen, and you'll have one side have their perspective and believe one thing, the other side have their perspective and believe their thing, and they are just completely opposite. Yeah. And each side is going, how could they possibly believe that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so we're on kind of two parallel tracks of my side, your side, and I think until we have people that will kind of merge those tracks, I don't know how it gets better, other than elected officials making it a cognizant effort to build those relationships and make it a point not to feed that extremism algorithm. And that's a responsibility of us as elected officials, but I think also the media, but also regular consumers of media and politics. It's got to be, I think, a universal effort to get back into a more civil public discourse.
Yeah. I mean, as you just said there, I think a lot of people could summarize it as like different realities almost. You take in different media, you get different viewpoints on the same subject, and you walk away with two radically different ideals and beliefs. So a lot of what you guys have been talking about today and what we touch on our show is like, how can we kind of get everybody back on the same track there? If either of you would have any idea on like, maybe if there's something we could do using like public networks or something in like the newer realm of social media to try and really like allow people to know the truth of a situation.
Well, I think that the issue is that social media is so easily manipulated, either through AI, through distortion of facts, and so even things that people might hold as a true value, just a basic value in terms of where they stand on certain issues. If a particular candidate, either extremes of both parties, say something, they'll forego that one value that they hold in order to hold the ideology and sentiments of that candidate, which is unfortunate. I don't know how we go back to where we were, and I don't think we ever will. I think we're going to have to forge a new path forward to understand that clearly we need some civility, but I think what we're going through in these political times is not normal. You can't compare it to 1968. You can't compare it to 1974. You can't compare it to the 80s. It is just not. It's a new normal, but it doesn't feel normal for us. And that's going to take many generations from now, studying history, understanding the mechanics of how voting trends were, but also just in terms of the changing of our basic democratic institutions and how they'll best serve us in the future. Hopefully will best serve us in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we can hope for sure. It's definitely a matter of like, you have to have that kind of aspiration for a better future, which again, I see in both of you guys. I see it in a lot of local, smaller elections and with younger people, their interest in trying to like get us on track. It's just, as you've said, there's a lot of people in the media who might benefit from kind of throwing in discourse, you know?
Right.
Well, listen, it's when you get elected, and I've only been in 3 years now, so I'm still new to the game. But when you come in, it's very tempting because it works. It's very tempting to fall right into that. I've got to just hammer the other side. I got to just fight the other side, and it plays well to your base, to the people that elect you. So it's very enticing to fall into that because that's kind of what you do. So I think until candidates and elected officials stand up and stop feeding that beast, if you will, and start standing up and I think you have to criticize policy, not people. And when your main focus is tearing people down and ignoring policy, all it does is stir up that negative discourse. So I have no problem, even on disagreements that we have, I don't have a problem criticizing policy or beliefs. But when I start tearing down Corey as a person, you've crossed a line that I think should be a no-go in the public realm.